that if you've ever like had to skip a meal for some reason, like you know the effect that that has on your body. So if you can just imagine what that's like day over day, weeks on end, it contributes to fatigue and trouble sleeping and again trouble concentrating, just a whole slew of factors. And
it's interesting that you can see a behavior and everything in their personality is different when they have eaten and when they haven't eaten. Everything in their ability to concentrate, their interaction with friends, everything. It really goes back to the core of, are they fed at home?
Kids who are hungry or don't get enough access to food don't grow as well. Their weight is low, their height is often low, they don't reach full potential there. Behaviorally, kids who come to school hungry or who go through life hungry can develop issues with trust. They can develop issues with honesty, like stealing food, hoarding food. When kids are hungry, they can have headaches, they can have outbursts in school, it's hard to control their tempers, they can become more impulsive. I think, again, childhood hunger is a big problem that we see in kids who have focus and attention issues. Oftentimes we come to find out that their diet is not what it should be.
So I had a little boy, my first year of teaching, named Anthony, and he would come before school, and his mom was dropping him off, and he would come and sit in the back of my classroom, and I'd help him with some work. And before I knew it, he was coming every morning, and I would bring him a piece of fruit or a little snack, and then he was coming every day. And I realized he was counting on me for a meal every day.
The tricky things about hunger is you can't always tell when someone is hungry. You can't necessarily see it like on their body. So it's sort of a hidden problem.
So how can I tell if a child comes to my office hungry? I think that's a hard question. I don't think most kids are insightful enough or maybe even honest enough or comfortable enough to say that they're hungry.
So interestingly, when we do state testing, a few years ago when we were teaching, we decided to give the kids Cheerios and grapes and raisins before the testing. So they would come in, we'd feed them a little cup of a baggie of food to ensure that they had nutrition for the testing. And that seemed like a little too late. And what I mean by that is it seems like they need to have nutrition the entire year, not just on the handful of days of testing. When a child is hungry, they can't live up to their potential. They can't do what they need to do. I've seen a child who one year has lived with one mom, with a mom, and then the next year has moved because of circumstances to be with the dad, and the grades have dropped dramatically. I mean, down 2 and 3 reading levels, because yes, the change in family life, but there's no food at home, and it's making it hard for the child to be successful in school.
Really ranges in terms of racial, ethnic, cultural background. It's as diverse as the population and communities are in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties.
Not having enough food during pregnancy is a big one. Often women talk about how much weight they gain in pregnancy, but there is a population of people who don't have access to healthy food and nutrition. And what happens is the fetus or the growing baby doesn't grow appropriately. They can be born what we call SGA, which is small for gestational age, or have something called IUGR, which is intrauterine growth restriction. These kids often have emotional issues, intelligence issues, focus issues. They have trouble growing in the first couple years of life. Their immune systems are not as strong as they should be. So nutrition in pregnancy is probably one of the most important things.
I had one of the biggest success stories. I'm not saying that this is always the case, but I had one guy who was the skinniest little guy, Martel. I will never forget him. I mean, beanpole. Had to live with his 16-year-old sister because the family life wasn't good. There was never enough going on. And he's now a graduate of UC Santa Clara. He's got a job in the tech industry. And I think for him at least, he was really fueled by the whole thing. He said, I'm gonna do better for myself, and I'm gonna make sure that this never happens to me, and I'm always going to be able to afford what I need and have food. And it really almost lit a fire under him. Unfortunately, that's not the norm. And I can't say that he's more than the 1%. But every once in a while, you do see somebody who's just determined to persevere, and that would be the Martel.
Sort of surprised talking about the number of people that we're serving and how many people are hungry in our 2 counties, and I think that just speaks to the fact that it could be your neighbor, your friend, someone in your class, and you might not know. I think hunger contributes to poverty, and is also like a lived experience that comes with it.